Hi, my name is Ruth Michelson with Ruth Hong Art, and today in this video I'll show you how to color a rose of Sharon. So I often start out with a base layer of color, and here I'll use a light cerulean blue for my background, and I'm using my favorite mark making, which is coloring in circles. And once I finish my base layer, I switched over to a Canary Yellow Prismacolor pencil to color in the pistil or the pollen of the flower. And now here I am starting to color that deep magenta color of the throat of the Rose of Sharon, or the eye of the flower, and I'm actually using a Tuscan Red Prismacolor for the first layer. I don't have a magenta color in my set of pencils, but we'll come back and combine several colors to make that magenta color. And I am using these circles, but I kind of deviate a little bit to add some of the lines that you would see in the Rose of Sharon. For the outline of the petals, here again I'm deviating from the circles and really using the Prismacolor to draw the outline, but it'll help me fill in the petals a bit later, using the circle still as my mark making. And for the outline, I'm using a grass green Prismacolor pencil. It'll actually be one of the colors that I use throughout for the flowers, and as well as the background, just to give it a little bit more depth. And for the petals, I'll use a white Prismacolor pencil, and that'll be the layer on top of that light cerulean blue to make up the petals. And Prismacolor has a soft core, so it really blends colors very well, and white specifically helps blend colors as well. So rather than using or starting off with like the white of the paper, it gives more volume. And here I'm using grass green again to add a little bit more detail, to bring a bit more definition of the background of the flower. And next I'm going to move on to creating the second layer of the eye of the Rose of Sharon, and I'm using a Mulberry Prismacolor pencil, and so we're getting a little bit closer to the magenta color. And for the pistil, I am using a Spanish orange for that second layer, so it's adding a little bit more definition to the pistil and the pollen on top. So my first layer was that Canary Yellow, and I'm moving on to the Spanish orange. And here I'm coming back and adding a little bit more of that grass green for more definition to the flower. And on the petals, there are these ridges where pollinators usually grip to when they're trying to gather the pollen. So those ridges actually have a functional purpose, and I'm using a light cerulean blue that I used before as my background to add that detail of the ridges. And here I am adding another layer, bringing back that light cerulean blue again on top of the petals, just to give the petals much more volume and so that way it pops out from the background and it's not just a stark white. And as I mentioned before, I love to use white as a blending tool. I know that Prismacolor offers a blending tool, but I do like to use white as an additional layer. So here you can see the blue is blending really well with the white Prismacolor pencil that I'm using. And throughout the video, you've probably realized that I love to blend and combine colors. So here's another layer on top of the eye of the Rose of Sharon. So I'm using a violet blue on top of the mulberry, on top of the Tuscan red. So that brings out much more of that vibrant magenta color that we would expect to see. And I'll finish off the eye of the flower with the last layer to blend, and I'm using the mulberry again to blend in a bit more of that violet, so it's a much deeper, richer magenta color. So I'm taking a break from the flower and moving on to the background. So over the light cerulean blue, I'm coming back with the grass green to tie in the colors of the flower with the background, and using the circles as my mark making. And for me, doing it in circles helps me slow down and focus less on the actual end product of the coloring or drawing. It's really meditative for me, and it does make time seem that it goes by really quickly, although, you know, I'm coloring in a repetitive motion. It does feel like time's passed by without me really knowing. And just as I did with the flower, to add a bit more depth to the background, and coming with another layer, yet another layer of color, and this time I'm using a dark green, so it complements the colors that I've been using, the cerulean blue, the grass green, pretty well. And to give the flower more volume, more dimension, I'm going to add some highlights and shadows. So for highlights, I like to use any type of yellow. For shadows, I usually use Indigo Blue, but this one is a Canary Yellow, so I'm just coloring where the highlights would be on the petals, where the light might shine, or instances where it may show a little bit of browning. I'll come back and layer that. And so for the petals where you often see some kind of sunburn, to represent that, I added a little bit of that Sienna Brown. And here I'm using that same Sienna Brown to add another layer to the background. I don't know how many, it's at least 4 now. For the background, we start off with the light cerulean blue, to the grass green, the dark green, and now we're doing the Sienna Brown. So it ties in all of the colors of the flower with the Sienna Brown. And here I picked up the Indigo Blue. It's my go-to for any shadows. So I actually don't use black at all, where you think most shadows appear as black. Black is one of the colors that I don't use in my set, but I will use Indigo Blue often to create the shadows. And here I'm just using it where there's some shadows between the overlaps of the petals, and it does give more definition to the ridges of the petals. For the final layer of the colored flower, I am using white to go ahead and blend the color. So if you recall, we started off with the light cerulean blue, did white, did cerulean blue again, did a little bit of the indigo blue, and finishing it off with the white again. So just to make the petals alone, we used 5 layers, but if you recall what the drawing looked like at the beginning of the video, there's so much more richness in the layers that we've put together. So here we have the final colored Rose of Sharon, also known as the rose mallow or the hardy hibiscus. I do have a reference picture on my website so that you can take that free download and practice coloring yourself. Let me know how you did with your coloring practice, and be sure to like my video and subscribe to my channel for more inspiration and coloring. Thanks for watching.